You're listening to Building the Broncos with Nick Kendell and Carl Dumler, Broncos country's leading draft and scouting analysts. Get on over to milehighhuddle.com to sound off on all things Broncos.
We're doing the countdown here, waiting for John behind the scenes to make sure Facebook is up and running. Everybody can probably realize I am in a new room here. We got the thumbs up. You can still see the corner of that same bed. I won't normally be in here, but the upstairs, boxes, pets, wives. No, just wife, singular. And so, Carl, Saturday is for building the Broncos. What's going on? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. It's been kind of a crazy week. So I'll cue our listeners in just a little bit. We're in the adoption process, and we had to have our home visit today and got approved. So we just have to get all the paperwork sent overseas, and I get to go pick up my 2 new sons. Very excited. So this was a big day for my family.
I did not know that, Carl. I knew your inspection was today. Congratulations, man. That is awesome news. And you guys, for just a little bit behind the scenes, this has been something Carl and his wife have been trying to do for since we started this show, right? Like back in 2017, I knew that this was a process that you were interested in, and you just got approved. 2021, April, that's freaking fantastic. And I mean, can't think of you're going to make such a difference in those 2 kids' lives. So I'm really, really happy for you and proud of you too, man. That's so awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. My wife has gone through she's going through the nesting process right now, and getting our whole house set up. So it's been kind of fun to watch her go through that, because she did not go through that with our daughter. She was not happy to be pregnant, and so she lived in denial for a long time there on that. But no, it's an exciting time for us. See Robert Castle was asking the question, what country? We're going with the Dominican Republic. So. But like I said, just very excited, and hopefully before the season starts, I'll go over there, and I'll be gone for a little while. So Nick will have to, we'll figure out something here for building the Broncos, but no, it'll still be good. Don't worry. And I should be back for the season, but it's like I said, it's been a long process. Still feels like it's not quite real.
I mean, you got drug around multiple times and so many hoops to jump through. So to get there, I'm really, really happy for you. I know this is something you really wanted to do, and congrats to those 2 boys as well. They're going to get a heck of a dad. And also, guys, just a heads up, we moved in this new house on Thursday night, and we just got our Wi-Fi today at noon. They had to set up our Axel. I'm not internet savvy. I don't know how it works. I was trying to explain to Carl how bandwidth works. It's kind of like a pipe that hasn't been used for a while. So the trickle's a little slow right now, right? It's not really good flow. So it's possible that my modem could drop. John's laughing behind the scenes because I'm explaining this probably absolutely backwards. I'm an epidemiologist and a football guy, right? Internet stuff, it just exists, right? Thank God for that, but I don't know. It comes from the sky. I don't know. But really appreciate you guys. We're going to talk some football tonight, obviously, before we get through all of that. But first, we want to say hello to everybody in the house. We got DeAndre Witherspoon in the house. DeAndre, how you doing, bud? From Facebook. Thank you so much. Go Broncos with, I think that's 6 exclamation points. We love that. Oh, Charlie Beagle in the house. Charlie's been riding with us for a long time. Charlie says we're 17-0 right now. You know what? I don't know about the 17-0. Also, it might be 18-0, right? Or what is it going to be now? The team could win 22 games, right? If they play 3 games, you'd obviously get the first round bye. Probably. Right. Can you imagine going undefeated and not getting the first round bye? So 17-0. Either way, Broncos are undefeated right now, and we love to see that. And also probably, I know nobody wants it to be the winners of free agency, but Broncos might be up there, right? They didn't make the most quantity of moves, but the quality, George Payton,
right? Pretty
good so far, buddy. Pretty good.
Yeah.
We got George Newton in the house. Robert Castle already said hello. We got J. Kozad. Obviously, we got Mike S. rocking the Alabama in the back. Hello to you, Mike, over on YouTube. Roll Tide. We'll see if Broncos will bring in some more Bama guys. I know that Elway was kind of avoiding those guys for a bit. It seemed like, it comes from this. God, I don't know, right? There's only football in here, football and science, and not the technical side. We got also our friend Madungus Creevy coming in here, dropping with the first super chat of the night. Thank you so much, Madungus. Just watched the season finale of the Broncos versus Raiders. We play on NFL Network. Can we ban stupid decision timeouts from games? That's fair, right? If you're talking about from the team themselves, no, I don't think so. What else would we talk about? If we can't come up here, get in our soapbox and say, well, we wouldn't have done that timeout because it worked out later with hindsight bias, then we're out of a job. So no, right. that's half the fun, right? Like you have to be good at that. It's a little bit of an edge you can get. And if you do it right, and that's something that, I mean, a lot of people will complain about Vic Fangio, right? Not been great so far. A lot of the criticism, I think, is not totally warranted. Time management, clock management, 110%. Got to do better. Way too conservative. Clock management needs to do better.
Well, and it's one of those, I mean, we've seen with coaches, until they get a quarterback, I mean, the greatest coaches in football have a quarterback. That makes them look like geniuses a lot more times than maybe they deserve.
Great players make great coaches. I think.
Right, exactly. And so we'll see. We don't want to get too much into that quarterback conversation right now because we want to talk about some other things. But yeah, I don't know. I'm back and forth on on Vic Fangio. I love what he does with this defense. I mean, you look around the league, Vic Fangio is everywhere throughout the entire NFL with his scheme and what he can do. And he's the mastermind behind it. I mean, last year he made chicken salad out of, you know what, with that secondary. They were not good.
The safeties were good. The safeties.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. You got to give Justin Simmons and Kareem Jackson all the credit in the world. But yes, beyond that, the cornerbacks, not great. The timeout Fangio. Oh, here, Mendonga's coming back with another super chat. The timeout Fangio took before the 2-point at the end. So sad. Yeah, I get that. I mean, they were scrambling, didn't look like they were completely set, didn't know what they were doing, and you kind of let them go get set by taking that time out there. Probably not his best moment for sure. And you're right. There's things that Vic Fangio has to work on. But here's what I'll say. Every coach out there, you see the issues that each of them have. Some of them have some really, really big strengths that you really love. And so you got to learn, can you live with the bad? Because I think of the Chiefs head coach.
Happy birthday, Todd. Sorry, it's coming up there. We got to shout that out too.
Yeah, but
how old?
Yeah, but Andy Reid, he has issues with time management
all the time.
He's cost his team plenty of times in the playoffs. Now, Patrick Mahomes has kind of helped cover up some of those issues now. You think about these games where the game plan was not great. Last year when they did win the Super Bowl, or 2 years ago, I guess now, they got behind big time. And then it kind of turned into, well, Patrick Mahomes, you got to save us. And Patrick Mahomes saved them.
Yeah.
But Andy Reid all of a sudden is viewed as this great genius when his game plans were not working great there for a while. So anyway, well, we're kind of already getting down some rabbit holes, but we probably should get into making sure that our sponsors for today get recognized. And our sponsor here today is Manscaped. We want to let you guys know that we know that this past year was not that great. And we understand a lot of people kind of let themselves go. I mean, I had myself a very, very bushy beard going for a long, long time. But got to know, 2021, things are starting to open up, starting to get back out there and be able to do a few things. So that means that it's time to embrace the new year, new me mindset. And the best way to start cultivating that is with Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels and helping 2 million men around the world keep their male grooming on point. If you let yourself go in 2020 while in quarantine, Manscaped is here for you to reboot and stay clean and shaved in 2021.
Yeah, guys, that's right. Obviously, like I said, I'm in the midst of a move, but one of the things that I made sure that did not get packed away in a box is my little tiny Manscaped travel bag here. It's got all your necessities, tweezers, fingernail clippers, little scissors, a file as well, and you got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. They also obviously have the Lawnmower 3.0, which is waterproof and has the skin safe trimmer on it, which helps reduce nicks to your 2 best friends, maybe 3 best friends out there, no judgment. And they also have the 3rd generation trimmer, which has a light on it also to illuminate those hard to see spots. And I know I'm an outdoorsman. Everybody knows that, fishing, backpacking, hiking, etc. They also have Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs. So, let's say you run out of your Gold Bond in the backcountry, not an issue if you have the Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs. So a lot of good products. It's not just the Lawnmower 3.0. They have the great cologne as well. The everybody's favorite, the ball wipes, right? Like those are fantastic as well. So make sure you check out Manscaped because it's not just the Lawnmower 3.0. They have a lot of products that can really help take your male grooming to the next level.
And the great thing right now is that you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Your family jewels will thank you.
Yeah, guys, that's really important. If you want to get 20% off on top of free shipping, just use the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Once again, 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com if you use the code HUDDLE. Make sure you go check it out. Hopefully your brackets didn't get busted, but even worse, if you don't use Manscaped, your balls might get busted. So make sure you check them out.
All right. And also make sure that you're following us on Twitter. You can find me at Carl Dumler MHH and Nick at Nick Kendell MHH. John behind the scene at John K MHH. He's doing all the tough work that makes our job very, very easy. Just a great source for us. And also make sure we got a shout out here for Dylan Von Arks, aka MHH Pod Mod. He's doing a lot of also great work behind the scenes for us. So make sure that you're looking him up. You can find the show's Twitter account at BTB Football Pod. And also make sure that you are liking, sharing, giving that little thumbs up for us. It just really helps in subscribing to our show. Those are the things that just mean the world to us. Going over to iTunes, leaving us a comment, 5-star rating, whatever you want to give us, of course. But those 5-star ratings, I was just reading through them actually last night, quite a few of them. And it really does mean the world just getting to read when they sit there and say, we love Nick and Carl, all the different podcast hosts, but especially us. It means a lot. So I do really appreciate that. And but yes, if you can like, subscribe, and share our show, that'd be great. And also head on over to milehighhuddle.com where we have all of the draft content that's going on right now. We are 19 days away from the draft. So you do not want to miss anything that's going on. And like I said, that's the best place that you can go and find all the information that's going on out there. And so, all right, our topic tonight is, I know most everybody's kind of focused on this idea of the Broncos trading up, and I still think that's a very real option that's possibly going to happen. But we also need to look at this idea of trading back, because my thought right now is it's either trade up, get your quarterback, or trade back. The odds of them staying at pick 9 seem very, very slim right now. Just knowing George Payton, where he came from with the Vikings, he likes to get as many picks as he possibly can. They were big on trading back, finding lots of partners. I think he's even hinted at that kind of idea at some of his press conferences. And so this idea that they could be trading back, maybe somebody's coming up for Mac Jones, maybe one of these offensive tackles is another option that, these teams that really need somebody, and they're sitting there saying, I did a first-round mock draft on a show last night, and after about pick 14, those offensive tackles really dried up real quick. And as deep as this draft is, there is a clear line between those top guys. I'd say after Tevin Jenkins, there's a big drop off to that next tier of guys.
Where did Tevin Jenkins go, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm trying to remember.
I don't want to spoil it too much because we're going to get to the, I think next week's or even Tuesday's show, we're going to do our big board. But Tevin Jenkins is very high on my board. So tune in Tuesday. Go ahead.
I think 16 to the Cardinals.
Okay. Wow. That's an interesting fit for the Cardinals considering the air raid, maybe not needing as much of a mauler. But anything that keeps him from Las Vegas, sign me up because I am very afraid of Tevin Jenkins. I think there's a chance Tevin Jenkins could be the best tackle in this class. I think people are sleeping on him. I mean, once he hit that arm length threshold, when people were saying, oh, he's going to be like 32 and an eighth, when he came in like 33 and 3/8, hello. Like he had longer arms than both Sewell and Slater, or at least equal to Sewell. That doesn't make him better. Arm length does not equal being a great tackle. But if you're too short, it is an issue. So we got Peter Johnson coming in here. Let's let the chat dictate this for a second. Trade back twice and stack up on good depth. Our corners could be an issue again next offseason. Well, Peter, this is a good comment. And this is something that I think if the Broncos are in the reality where they are trading back, you don't want to look at what this roster is in 2021, right? It's about what holes are going to be there in 2022, because the reality is if you're picking outside of the top 10, even for first round picks, those guys are most likely going to be developmental / depth players year one. I mean, think about what the Broncos were during the Peyton years, right? It was Shane Ray. Was he a starter? No, but he was a valuable member. And if it wasn't for that wrist injury, who knows what would have happened with him? Bradley Roby, kind of a starter, that third cornerback, on and off the field. That's kind of what you're looking at if you're trading back into, say, 2022, 24. So instead of thinking about, we have to take a linebacker right now, we have to take a running back because those are our biggest needs, just looking ahead to 2022, A lot of these moves are very short term, and we have a lot of areas that could become a weakness quickly. Right tackle, Juwan James. I've heard some rumors that I don't think he trusts the training staff. I don't think the Broncos want him here very much longer. So that could open up a right tackle position after this season. Cornerback, you have 2 potential corners that you might need, both with Callahan and Kyle Fuller, who both hit free agency. Safety, Kareem Jackson, both linebackers. Von Miller at edge rusher. And then Bradley Chubb's going to get expensive too. So it's there's so many positions where if the Broncos do trade back, it shouldn't be, thinking 2021, right? The Broncos taking Najee Harris is not going to be the difference between them winning the Super Bowl this year or not. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's just, he's not Saquon Barkley. Even Saquon Barkley wouldn't do that, but that's not the type of caliber of prospect he is. Right. But trading back, it'd be more about making sure that you don't have those massive holes next year for those more valuable positions. And you just stack those positions while also hopefully setting yourself up for a chance to add a quarterback in 2022.
Right.
If Locke fails. Sorry.
And my thought is there a player in this draft that all of a sudden takes the Broncos to Super Bowl caliber kind of roster? Outside of the rookie quarterbacks, I'm not sure that there is a guy. And even the rookie quarterbacks. I had somebody say, why would you draft a quarterback when you've set this roster up to compete this year? Well, you've set them up to compete, but I don't think Drew Lock gets them over the top to all of a sudden being a Super Bowl contender against the Chiefs. Even, you got the Chargers now with their quarterback set. The AFC is loaded with teams. And so you're right. You're looking at 2022. What can we do to make sure that 2022, we are one of those teams that people are talking about as a top 10 roster in football that can really make a name for themselves?
Yeah, and it's also if you're filling those holes now for safety, for edge rusher, for linebacker, for tackle, that means that's more money you have next offseason where you can attack other positions because you have a cost-controlled player. You don't have those holes. You're preemptively filling them. And for positions like tackle, edge rusher, cornerback, typically those guys need a year anyway. So you're really setting yourself up where you are just making sure that it's an issue. Hello, epidemiologist here, preventive health. You want to stop problems before they happen. And that's what you're doing when you're trading back there and getting those positions, especially those positions that are harder to find on the market unless you're paying stupid money. What did Leonard Floyd get? $14 million? No, dumb. I don't want to have to do that next year. What if Von Miller falls off? You don't want to be in that position, especially in this defense, in this conference, or in this division also with the Chiefs. And we just saw the formula versus, the formula, how often is their offensive line going to be that bad? But you have to be able to get pressure with 4. The only way to do that consistently is to continually pour in resources at the pass rushing positions. So that's not a bad idea at all to get there at that spot where you have a young cost-controlled player. That means you can move on from Von Miller, and that means you can set up to pay Bradley Chubb as well. Yeah.
We got Mighty Burrito coming in here saying, who's even trading into the top 10 if it's not for a quarterback? If someone trades into the number 9, it'll be because a quarterback fell. And in that sense, why would we not take Lance or Fields? So there are a couple positions that I could see teams wanting to trade up and get. Offensive tackle. Like I said earlier, you got your tier guys. You got your Sewell, you got your Slater, you got your I know, but he's up there.
Yeah.
Compared to
I wouldn't put him on the same tier just as from a prospect. So if somebody's moving up, I've heard Minnesota has had conversation with Denver about the pick number 9. Yeah. And that would involve Rashawn Slater or Penny Sewell being there at 9. Right. So, that's a possibility.
The Colts, they're another team that you look at their left tackle spot since their guy retired. They could view it as, hey, we got to protect our new quarterback that we just paid. We're paying big money for, and we paid big draft capital for. We got to get our guy. And looking at the rest of the roster, they're going, we don't have a whole lot of holes. So if we can go get this guy, we'll go get him. And so I do think that is one of those positions where, we just saw with Houston. I know they traded stupid picks to get their left tackle in Tunsil, but at the same time, you see that is a position that people really, really value and are willing to give quite a bit. So that is one spot that I could see. Maybe Jalen Phillips is another one that some people decide. One of the wide receiver weapons is another that if one of those guys is falling, this is a good wide receiver class, but there's still, again, that tier of 3 guys that you're going, if I really want to get a true number 1, these are one of the guys I have to get. So that's why I say you could still see a team trade up not for a quarterback.
Yeah, and 100%. Another one that's a landmine is Dallas at 10, right? Like there's no secret. 9 out of 10 times they're going to take a cornerback. Somebody might want to go to 9 to snatch a cornerback from Dallas. That could be the Eagles. I mean, they are very much in the cornerback market. It could be the Vikings again. So that's something that interests me a lot. And if somebody, let's say that they hear that Dallas has J.C. Horn as their number one cornerback, well, I need to get in front of Dallas. And while I totally agree with the previous comment about how you're going to probably more likely to get a trade if it's a cornerback from Brian Greenfield. Brian, thank you so much. You always have great questions here. I do think that there will be a market for other trades to be had. You're not going to get the same capital. There's a premium or a tax that you have to pay extra when you're moving up for a quarterback. Like throw the trade value chart out the window. You're paying more if a quarterback's involved. So there still will be markets. You're just probably not going to get the same level of return trading. Right.
Down. And so Brian Greenfield did come in here with the super chat saying we need to stay at 9. We will get a good player unless we get a great offer. And
I mean, for me, it's like everything is the path to the quarterback, right? Like you need to hedge your bets to make sure that even if, let's say they do roll with Drew Lock this year, and I don't think from what I've heard, again, just boots to the ground. If the Broncos don't come away with a quarterback in this class, they're going to bring in Bridgewater, and it'll be a competition between Lock and Bridgewater. But still, they want to be putting themselves in a situation where they can be aggressive in 2022, whether that be trading up, kind of like what the Bills did back in 2017, trading down, getting that capital, or they could have picks accumulated where they could actually make an aggressive offer for a Russell Wilson, for an Aaron Rodgers, for a Matt Ryan, or even a Kirk Cousins. Like that's, we're getting down the ladder there. But if you have those picks where you're trading down and you're getting 2022 capital, at least you can buy into the table, right? It's like it's kind of like a high stakes poker game, right? If you don't have the money to buy in to start, you're not even going to sit. So that's what you're doing there if you are trading back. But I agree, Carl. I'm going to spin off this one for Brian here because I am curious. You've said it's either a trade up or a trade down. Is there a non-quarterback scenario at 9 where you do stay put? If they're calling up, who are they? If they are,
it would be hard to see Sewell there at 9 and not take him. I mean, the idea of Garrett Bowles on one side, Sewell on the other, and to have, your tackle positions possibly the best in the NFL right off the bat, just for any quarterback that comes in, that's a really nice scenario. And to have him cost controlled while you're paying Garrett Bowles big money. And then when Bowles' contract is up, hey, here we go. We can pay Sewell. And so I think that scenario works out really well for the Broncos and the long-haired boys. But that would be one player that I would want to stay for. Beyond him, I guess Pitts.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
I had to Carl.
Yes. I know tight end is not that, but I wish we'd stop calling him tight end because that's not really he's a tight end, but he's so much more.
Offensive weapon.
Yeah, that's the better way to put him. And there's a reason that people are saying this is the best tight end that they've ever seen. I think I was listening to Daniel Jeremiah the other day, and somebody asked him, in your scouting, did you ever have a tight end that you guys all said this is this kind of generational talent? And he said that when he first started, Kellen Winslow that was his year. And he said, I didn't really get to scout him, but I've never heard people talk about a tight end like this since Kellen Winslow.
Spicy Mike coming in here. I think the only one that makes sense, and it's not a tight end, but as far as a caliber of player, it's Megatron coming out, right? It's just the freak athleticism size. Vernon Davis was a freak, but he did not have the ball skills that we saw. He's a little bit more straight line and just an athlete and explosive, which was great. But Kyle Pitts can play the ball it doesn't make any sense, right? Yeah. The way he can go up and get it. It reminds me of Megatron. Now he's not Megatron. Megatron was better. He played the X and had, even better speed. But that's the only thing that I can wrap my head around. As far as a caliber of prospect, it's Megatron.
Yeah. So one of the neat things that I got to learn yesterday was, so they have a charting now where you can look at certain spots on the field and obviously see what a quarterback's rating is in each of those spots. Well, that slot tight end spot and about 5 yards ahead and 3 yards on either side, Kyle Trask had a quarterback rating 20 points higher than any other quarterback in this draft. Kyle Trask is not a great quarterback. That's all about Pitts being right there, that you can throw it to him. And even though they know the ball's going to him, you can't stop it. I mean, Florida's offense this last year was Kyle Pitts on one side, everybody else on the other side. Let's try to isolate him. And even if he's covered, we throw it to him because we think he's coming down with it. And he went against some great.
Shout out to Kadarius Toney, who might go first.
Yeah, he's great too. Okay, I don't want to take away too much from him, but I mean, it still shows like this is the guy we know is a star. Let's get him the ball, and he went against some great tight ends.
Yeah,
while he was doing, or not tight ends, some great cornerbacks when he was doing those kind of things. Yeah, and he won those matchups. And so again, those are the two names. If they are there at 9, I'm willing to say, let's stay here, take that guy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I am first seeing if anybody's willing. First off, Kyle Pitts isn't going to be there at 9 unless something happens between now and the draft. He gets 3 DUIs in like 2 days. Then he's going to fall. But that's something I don't think Kyle Pitts is going to be there. There's a reason that it's a long conversation for the Falcons at 4. Take the quarterback seems like the obvious thing, even if they already have kicked that money back from Matt Ryan. How often are you going to be this high up with a quarterback class where you can get a guy who could go number 1 in many classes being down there? Would Pitts be comparable to Gronkowski? Gronkowski is a little different where he's that classic Y because what is he 6'7", 270 or something? Does not move like Pitts, but he's actually like an extension of the offensive line as a blocker while also being just so physical and big down the line of scrimmage. Like Pitts can create separation and play above the rim better than Gronkowski can. And part of Gronk's greatness is Tom Brady, and part of Tom Brady's greatness is Gronk, right? Like you can't have, there's a reason that's a number 1. I think they're the number 1 passer to receiver touchdown ever, right? Like I think that's more than Jerry Rice in Montana. I think it's Tom Brady to Gronkowski. I don't have that in front of me. But they're slightly different, right? Like I would not call Kyle Pitts like that. I'm having a hard time thinking of a tight end that is like Kyle Pitts. I guess Jimmy Graham at his peak, maybe, but I think Kyle Pitts is more explosive down the field. He can separate better. Yeah,
I'm with you there. You're right. That's the problem is we can't even think of somebody that is Kyle Pitts. That's how generational of a talent he is. And probably the one guy that I sit there and say, barring injuries, he has almost zero bust potential. I mean, maybe like 1% kind of thing. But all right, we're going to move on to Call of Duty coming in here with a, I like that, with a super, really appreciate that. Draft Greg Newsome. He's cornerback 1 in my opinion. Well, I don't think you're going to get too much pushback from this group right here on that kind of decision. Once Caleb Farley had that back surgery, it kind of just bunched a bunch of cornerbacks together. It's kind of a different flavor depending on what you want out of a cornerback. Surtain, there's a lot of teams. I could see him being their number 1 cornerback. Horn, yeah, the Horn's the other one that I could see other teams have him as their number 1 cornerback. Greg Newsome, he's got to be up there with a lot of teams as well. And so if the Broncos trade back, he's going to be pretty high on my list of guys that I'm really looking at and saying, this is a guy I would love to see the Broncos take.
I do like Newsome a lot. I think he's a great scheme fit. There's a reason, though, he's not being talked about the same as those other guys. It's because, I mean, what did he do his 2 seasons ago, right? Like he's had injuries in his career that have kept him off the field. And this last year was the first year where we really saw him take that step. Now, it was a fantastic season, right? Like, don't get me wrong. That interception in that Ohio State game was chef kiss, just a great, great player. But there are some questions with him. So that's one reason. However, if it comes to a specific scheme fit, Newsome might be a better fit than Horn or Surtain. So I don't think he'll go before them. If the Broncos do trade back to, let's say, 15 to 25, though, I would have no issue with that. And even if, let's say, Newsome plays sparingly this season, that's fine. I have no issue with that because you are investing in that. And again, in the AFC West, if you don't have the horses to in the secondary and the pass rush, you're going to get eaten up. It's not just Mahomes. It's also, as much as it pains me to say, the Raiders. They've actually had pretty good offenses over the last few seasons. What about Darren Waller? Well, how you can stop Darren Waller is if you don't have to worry about the cornerbacks too, right? It's going to take a synergistic effort from your defense to stop Darren Waller and Herbert coming up as well. So you got to have the horses in the secondary. And if Newsome's your guy, trade back in the first. Good process.
Yeah. I did see that we had an Alabama fan saying that Greg Newsome's number 1. So
roll tide, I guess.
Yeah, that's No, that's great though. I mean, I've had a few times where I've had little run-ins with Alabama fans that if you don't have an Alabama player at the top, but hey, you're a fan. That's great. They've produced a lot of great talent over the years for sure. And
Absolutely.
we got a Facebook user. I always hate when it does that to us, but unfortunate for Farley. I was really liking him at 9. Yeah. I'm in that same boat, but there's just a lot of red flags with him. He could become the best player out of this draft, or he could be out of the league in 3 years. And are you really willing to take a chance on that at pick 9? I like a guy with a little bit higher floor if I'm going to be picking that high. I like a few less red flags. That's why we didn't say Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
You like the talent on the field.
I hate to put those guys in the same bucket.
Okay, yes, but I mean, it's different red flags, but because there's red flags there, you're having to really question whether you would take them there. I mean, like if the Broncos did it, if they pulled the trigger on Micah Parsons or Caleb Farley, you're like, okay, I could see the upside. I mean, I could see the Hall of Fame kind of talent that this player could be.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just going to have to really bank on that being what comes out of them. But like I said, there's those times where you take those guys with just real high athletic ability and you get nothing out of it.
Yeah, I do still think that Farley will go in the first round, though.
Yeah,
I think somebody will take him, especially a team that has like 2 firsts, kind of like the Jags or the Jets. I mean, that's a team that you could stash that guy for a year and you might get a top 10 caliber prospect, down the road. So it's kind of like what the Jags did with Myles Garrett, right? Like he fell to the first pick or the second pick of the second round. Well, this guy was a top 10 pick, top 10 talent. Let's just take him and see what happens. And he's been a phenomenal player for them. So we got Robert coming in the house. Miles Jack. What did I say?
Myles Garrett.
Miles Jack, excuse me. Miles. Robert Caslow coming in the house. Thank you very much, Robert. Also, Kenneth giving me a hard time saying I'm wearing blush. I'm sorry, man. Sometimes I just get a little red, especially if I have had any alcohol. I have not, Chad. Don't worry about that. I'm not doing that before the show. Only during the show if I'm going to do that. No, but Robert Caslow in the house. If you trade back, how do you suss out who you get? The risk of missing out a desired player increases the lower you get. Yeah. You only are trading back if you are thinking that you have a lot of guys that you like, or you're not certain about the guys that are on the board. And also it's about this year is going to be as hard as ever to make sure that to give all the information. I mean, not only was there no combine and stuff, but like your scouts weren't on the road. They were not gathering information, watching these guys work, not talking to their sources during the games. I mean, if you watch any college football game, you see the scouts on the field, talking with coaches, talking with other scouts in the booth as well, watching the games, gathering information. There's going to be less information to be had this year. So in order to lower the risk, more darts, right? So that's something to do. I think that it's kind of unfortunate too, because like this is a year where the Broncos are in a position to get a quarterback, right? Like probably not next year, probably not the year after, at least a top 10 caliber quarterback in a class as special as this one. So, like that's something you have to weigh. But if you are trading back, that is I think a good strategy, just giving yourself more darts in this season itself. Right. And yeah, Jay with a good comment there. Exactly right. It's draft as a crapshoot, but like this year, even more so. I mean, maybe guys will be better. Maybe they'll even trust the tape more, and that'll lead to better results. A lot of that other stuff is superfluous, but we won't know until years down the line. Right.
That's just it. And like I said, you got there was a report the other day about how one of the owners from a team that has a top 10 pick said, we're not taking any players that opted out. And so that eliminates a lot of really big, talented players that decided to opt out, like Sewell, Farley. You got a lot of really, exactly. You got all these names. And so if you eliminate them off your board, you're taking a lot of guys that are top 25 talents in this draft.
Yeah.
But yes, it just, like I said, each team's going to have to figure out what they're willing to do. And did you watch the behind the scenes thing that the Broncos put out?
Carl, I have been consuming nothing but unpacking or packing. So I have not seen it yet. I saw clips where they were talking about taking guys with high character and how important the character and the culture was, which was red flags for me for a guy like Micah Parsons. But that sometimes could be lip service too. At some point, some guy might be talented enough where you can overlook something. But I have not seen it yet. It's on the docket.
One of the things that he did mention was that he just now in the last week or so has been able to have some meetings in person with some of the scouts.
Crazy.
And so everything else has had to have been over the computer. Just be like he said, flying out to some of these pro days. That was first time talking to a scout in person. And that kind of shows a little bit of, the difficulty that Peyton has found himself in. But at the same time, no excuses. You gotta, everybody else has to figure it out. You got to figure it out too. And so I do trust him to figure it out because like I said, I liked what he did in free agency. I liked every move made sense. There's been moves in the past. You're like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Every move, I'm like, yeah, I can see that player. I can see that contract. There was a couple contracts that I was like, it's a little higher than I would have paid. But there were other ones that I was like, wow, that is a bargain. Way to go, buddy. So yeah, I like what Peyton's doing. And I like the way that he's conducted himself so far with the pro days and going out and seeing all these top prospects, especially at the quarterback, really figuring it all out and not really jumping the gun, just panicking of, oh my gosh, look at all these quarterbacks that are getting traded or all these kind of things. I love that he hasn't really panicked in any of that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And there's still plenty of options, right? Like there's obviously the quarterbacks in the draft, which we don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much, but Nick Foles is an option. I mean, as much as that maybe makes some people cringe, that's one to do. That's especially if they trade down with the Bears, I could see them maybe get Nick Foles back at the same time. Teddy Bridgewater is one they've been linked to. Apparently after they struck out on Stafford, they were in contact with the Panthers for Teddy Bridgewater. I didn't hear that from a direct source. Somebody on media said that, but who knows? And Alex Smith is still out there. Gardner Minshew is still out there. So there are options, and I do appreciate Peyton not blinking yet. So let's get Todd's question back up. He had one earlier where he was talking about trade down options for linebacker. There we go. John, best in the business. Todd, best in the business. Todd Ostendorf. Who are the top 3 edge rushers and the top 3 linebacker targets as trade back options? Carl, let's hear what you have to say first. Would you rather do edge or linebacker?
I'll do edge.
Okay.
So you got Jalen Phillips of Miami. It's really hard to figure out where he's going to go.
Yeah.
Top 10 talent, but lots of concussions there in college. Now, I think something we do have to make sure. He was forced into retirement. That was not his choice. And that's part of UCLA's rules. You have so many concussions, you got to take a medical leave. You got to retire. That's why he ended up in Miami. Now, for me, I would take a chance on it. This is one. Don't tell my wife that I say this kind of thing, but the technology of what they've been able to do to help with concussions has vastly improved. My wife, she does this kind of thing. She's done it with me. She's done brain mapping and figuring out different ways to get different parts of the brain to wake up that have been asleep because of concussions or brain trauma. It's pretty impressive, and they're getting even better as they go. So I trust that, especially the medical staff that they could do a lot of great things. I might even send an email to the Broncos and be like, hey, my wife can come and help you with all these things.
Legal beagle.
Yeah.
I'm telling. Sorry, can you put that one back up?
Man. But anyway.
Okay, if you can't.
So he would be one. Kwity Paye is another that Michigan didn't use him like they should have. Mm-hmm. They kind of had him going all over the place and never really had that defined position to really take care of his athletic ability. And I love the idea of him being able to sit behind Von Miller and Bradley Chubb and then see him and what he can come in and do. And then, of course, Ojulari is another of Georgia. He is that great fit of really replacing Von Miller because you love his speed around the edge. You love his bendability. I just think that he would be a decent replacement. He won't be Von Miller,
no.
But 80% of Von Miller is still a really good player in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, he also can kind of be that more finesse speed rusher in comparison to Bradley Chubb, who's a little bit more power. I do want to give a shout out. I know I was going to take linebackers here, but Jason Owa from Penn State. People are like, I've heard from many people connected to the Broncos. The Broncos did not send their scouting brain trust to Penn State to check out Micah Parsons. Now, of course, watching Micah Parsons there didn't, if he's there, you're going to watch and take in everything. But the main attraction for them was Jason Owa. They have eyes for him. And he had probably the best pro day combine, showcase for an edge rusher since Jadeveon Clowney, right? Like, I don't think that's a stretch to say that he's absolute freak. Now, that didn't equal sacks. He was actually a basketball player, I think, until his end of his junior year of high school. And then he went to football. So he's still pretty new to football, figuring it out. But I mean, man, he has unbelievable upside. I'm surprised he didn't go back. I think he'd have been in the conversation for a top 10 pick next year if he'd have gone back. For linebackers trading back, though, let's say you miss out on Zaven Collins, or excuse me, tip of my hand there. Let's say you miss out on Micah Parsons. You're not taking one at 9. I think there are plenty of linebackers you can get to the back end of round 1 or early into day 2. One that I really like is Jamin Davis from Kentucky. He had an arguably just as good of a pro day as Micah Parsons did. You do have some questions though with him. Like, why did it take so long for him to see the field when he is the athletic freak that he is? Right? Like there's no reason he should have been playing these last few years. So there's some digging they're gonna have to do there to figure out why he wasn't there. Was it he not working in the weight room to get to where he needed to be? Was it mental stuff? I mean, he should have been playing for the athletic talent that he has for Kentucky. Not that Kentucky's been bad. They've been putting some good defensive guys in there. Zaven Collins is another one that I like him. I don't love him. I just wish he's relatively soft, right? Like he's tougher than me. I'm not gonna fight him or anything. But Zaven Collins, for as big as he is, I just feel like he's really finesse. So that kind of concerns me, but I think there's a lot of talent there, and I think he can become a very good linebacker, especially in this drop zone coverage that Fangio likes to run. And I really, really, really like Baron Browning as well. Is he going to be maybe a little bit more edge? Is he going to be off ball? I think it's kind of the Kwity Paye conversation too, where Ohio State asked him to do too much, right? And they were doing multiple things back there with him. But for short zone drops and for athleticism and for everything you're looking for the linebacker position, I think Baron Browning can do pretty much everything you'd want Micah Parsons to do, but for a fraction of the cost and not having the hazing incidents that and other incidents that Micah Parsons has had that really just make me concerned about taking him in the top 10.
Right. No, I like those 3 choices. Very, very good ones. We got somebody asking about JOK. We could talk about that. But Brian Greenfield, really appreciate the super sticker with the keep it up pair. And I need to get back into that. I haven't exercised since my race, other than playing soccer.
Well, that counts.
And I guess so, but but I noticed even playing soccer, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting winded again. So that's a good reminder for that. So appreciate the super sticker. And yeah, JOK. This is where, again, that position. Where are you playing him? How are you going to use him? You got to have a plan with a player like him. Isaiah Simmons last year, we really liked him. But he's got to go to a team that knows how to use that kind of talent because he has a unique skill set, and sometimes they're just teams that don't know how to use that very well. They have their set positions, and then they try to plug in a guy that isn't a perfect fit for that, and then wonder why that player never lives up to their potential.
I know that they brought in Mark Barron last year, but that paying Mark Barron, what was it, $2 million is vastly different than spending a first-round pick on that position. It's just not one that you've seen Vic Fangio utilize. Now, that doesn't mean they won't. It's a league where it's adapt or die. And let's say that Fangio's getting tired of Travis Kelce and Darren Waller in this division. And he's like, you know what? We're going to figure out how we can make this type of safety, linebacker, nickel hybrid work for this defense. So I have full faith that Vic Fangio could make that work. It's a projection. Then we're already projecting prospects, right? Like that's already part of it. Now we're projecting a guy to fill a niche or a fit in the defensive scheme that we haven't seen. So it makes me a little bit hesitant with him. I see much more of a box safety type when it comes to JOK, much more like a TJ Ward or a Jamal Adams. I mean, what did he weigh at the Notre Dame Pro Day? 215. I heard from multiple people that he played this past year at 200 pounds. That's not a linebacker, especially in Fangio's scheme. He's not going to play the Will or the Mike. Right, he's just not. Except unless you're playing like real special dime packages. I think for what the Broncos used last year, he would compare most favorably to what Will Parks was at the end of the season, where he was kind of a safety nickel player who can do some box work. And that's not replacing Josie Jewell. That's not replacing Alexander Johnson. It does bring athleticism and coverage to the second level, which this team desperately needs. But I wouldn't categorize him as a linebacker. I'd honestly categorize him as a safety. So that's why I did not toss him in there. But if they went with him, I would get it. And it's kind of maybe it's like, okay, well, this defense, we've already done really good. We would like maybe some more athleticism in the linebacker position, but we're okay with Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell. Let's get a Swiss Army knife guy and just say, you know what, we're going to get speed and athleticism out there and figure it out. Right. Okay, Vic, let's see how it works. Like we're projecting, but we'll see how it works. And I would understand. I just, from where I sit, I don't know if I would be calling for that.
Right. Especially in the AFC West. where you do have Darren Waller, you do have Travis Kelce, and having a guy that, I mean, you're not going to leave him one-on-one the entire game.
Yeah.
That's not going to end well for you, no matter who you have. I mean, the best coverage linebackers are going to struggle still for an entire game like that. But to have a guy that you know could hold up on some certain plays to allow you to be a little bit more versatile in what you call on a third and long kind of thing, that's a great player to have. And you got to like that the rest of the players that are on the field. I mean, Bradley Chubb's great against the run. Von Miller's great against the run. You have Mike Purcell, who's very good against the run. You got two other linebackers that are good against the run. So you can maybe sacrifice a little bit by putting an athletic guy on there that's maybe not going to be the best against the run. And, I mean, our cornerbacks are all good against run. Safeties are good against run. So there's a way to make it work. But you're right. Especially when you're taking a guy in the first round, you like a guy that you think can really play every down that you need him to play and be successful.
Yeah, it's too much of a projection. I see, and this is something too, I see a lot of people talking, we got John giving us the thing. Well, I see a lot of people talking Micah Parsons. I got to take Micah Parsons. Guys, this is a really, really talented off-ball linebacker class. It's not like Kyle Pitts, where like there's a massive drop-off at tight end after Kyle Pitts. Yes, there's Pat Fryermuth. Yes, there's Bevan Jordan, Hunter Long. But like if you can get Kyle Pitts, there's just Grand Canyon of a space between the next caliber prospect. Linebackers, not that way. There are so many good off-ball linebackers in this year's class. Obviously, we talked Jermaine Davis. Obviously, we talked David Collins. Obviously, we talked Baron Browning, but there is Pete Werner from Ohio State is really talented. There's Cam McGrone, who is extremely talented. There is Derek Bailey from Purdue, who's really slept on, extremely talented. There's Jabril Cox, who you could get, who is extremely talented. There's probably others too, who are Nick Bolton. I feel like people like Nick Bolton was talked about a lot early on in the draft process. I feel like he's being slept on right now. He's another one. So I just can't overlook all the stuff and what I've heard about Micah Parsons. It scares me too much, especially that kind of, there we go. Nick Bolton. Sewell and Bolton would be awesome. I mean, you're talking about getting some physicality there. That would be really good. If you miss out on Parsons, it's not the end of the world, guys. There are options, and don't worry about it. They will be fine.
Right. Well, I love this question from Richie Rich, Nick and Carl. If we were to draft an inside linebacker and they can cover, what would the impact be for the other players? Who would benefit most? Which inside linebacker would you replace them with? So all these are great questions. So let's start with the first one. What would be the impact for the other players? Well, it frees up the rest of the group where, like I said, a Travis Kelce, instead of always having to play two guys on him or, kind of play that over-under kind of look. One guy gets the under routes, one guy gets the over routes. You can free up those guys to go do other things. You can bring some blitz packages that maybe you couldn't bring otherwise because you knew you couldn't stay with this guy and it was going to cause a lot of problems moving forward. You can just be a lot more multiple in how you use those players, especially the safeties of where you're moving them on the field. That's when Vic Fangio was at his best, when he can really confuse a quarterback with which safety's doing what. And so if you have a linebacker that can cover, again, that just adds another piece of, is this guy coming on a blitz? Is this guy going to stay back and cover? Is he going to be in man zone? It just makes things a lot more difficult for a team to really game plan around.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is it's not so much a cover. And for me, people are talking about Jeremiah Usu-Koramoah versus a Baron Browning. Do the Broncos really need a safety / linebacker that can cover in man? How often are they asking their second level players to do that, right? I might prefer actually to have Baron Browning over JOK because if you're doing drop zones, I'd rather have the length, right? I'd rather have somebody who can hold up in the box and the length. That's more valuable than having somebody who can man up because you're just not doing that as much. So that's a big one. Other impact, it's the ability to cover space and the ability to not have to, it's the opposite, but the same. Wow. Great job, Nick. Great use of words. If you have four guys who can win with the pass rush, that means you don't have to allocate extra guys to create pressure. Well, if you have great covered guys, you have the ability to bring more guys in blitz. It just gives you versatility and means that you can bend your game plan. You can go from a position of strength. Right now, the Broncos, they don't have a position of strength play calling wise from the linebacker position because Alexander Johnson, they blitz him a lot. Vic Fangio doesn't really want to blitz with the linebackers if he can help it, but it's what Alexander Johnson does best. You don't want him in space. Josie Jewell, bless his heart, go Hawks. I had to get that in there, but like not a great athlete, not super long. He does his job, executes well, but like you're going to need limited schematically, positionally when he's out there. You can't overcome it. It's not like it's going to make or break the defense like we saw last year with the cornerback position, or if your pass rush is neutered, but it does limit what you can do and how great you can be. So I think that's the biggest thing. Also, one thing also, bringing it back to the Super Bowl here, we saw it wasn't as much the, Travis Kelce, he still had 13 catches and 130 yards, but the ability to close on space in the short pass game and get down there in a hurry and limit it yards after catch. Because the Chiefs offense, it's a lot of deep passes, but a lot of it is like, dink and dunk and let these yak weapons do things after the catch. If you have linebackers who can play sideline to sideline and close that gap in space in a hurry, you give yourself a great chance to limit damage in those high completion percentage throws. And that's something that this defense they don't have right now in the middle of the field.
Right. Well, and you add in, because their offensive line was so terrible, you eliminate the quick passes. Mm-hmm. Well, then your pass rush gets home because they're trying to find the deep pass going down the field. And that's what made that offense so strong, or that defense really strong against what the Chiefs were trying to do there. They didn't completely shut down Kelce, but they were able to shut him down when it counted most, especially in around the end zone. And that's what the Broncos do best as well. They'll give up a lot of yards, but they don't always give up a whole lot of touchdowns. And so that's why Fangio has had some of the best success against Mahomes of any coordinator out there. And it's why you saw Tampa Bay, honestly, they copied a lot of what the Broncos do in that Super Bowl.
Todd Bowles' lowest percentage of blitzes in a game he's called in his history as a defensive coordinator. Ever. Yep. I mean, he's called a lot of games. He's never called that low blitz percentage. And Todd Bowles loves to blitz. Really important to stop the Chiefs. Make them matriculate the ball down the field. Because Patrick Mahomes, he's a great quarterback. He's greedy. Who's going to blink first, right? Can you score a touchdown with a 12-play drive? Okay, do it again. Again. Our discipline will beat you out. And that's what we saw with him. Granted, again, how replicatable is that with how bad the Chiefs' offensive line was? Well, that's what we have to go off of. So we'll see. Yep.
All right, we had Mohamed Badri coming in here, dropping the microphone. Boom. Love it. And, of course, always love seeing them in the gear. And when we had our house inspector come in today, I made sure to have the Building the Broncos hat on display in one of the bathrooms, so she had to see it. But if you guys can head over to the store, always got a lot of great swag over there. It's a lot of stuff that I love going there, looking, seeing what I can buy. Mm-hmm. My wife has to talk me out of spending too much money, but no, it's great. Head on over to Huddle Up Pod, or did I get that right? HuddleUpPod.com. Yeah, there we go. And then the people that it benefits the most on the field, we said the safeties probably get a lot more multiple in what they can do, but I'd say Vic Fangio is the one that gets the greatest advantage. I mean, you love what he's been able to do with all the different linebackers he's worked with, Patrick Willis, Roquan Smith, even when he was with the Ravens, did a lot of great things there as well. So when you can have that kind of freedom to really choose, am I going to blitz? Am I going to stay back in coverage? It just really does a lot of great things. And that's why it's so great that we have a great linebacker class, because Broncos just haven't had a great coverage linebacker since Trevathan left.
Yeah, I do want to say, though, who was the number one defense in the NFL last year? Statistically, who was the number one defense?
Was it the Rams?
It was the Los Angeles Rams, correct. And what type of scheme did they run? Who was their defensive coordinator?
Well, Staley? Which is a pupil of Fangio.
Yes. Can you name me both off-ball linebackers that the Los Angeles Rams started last year?
I cannot.
Micah Kaiser and Troy Reeder. Number one defense in the NFL, folks. Now, yes, Aaron Donald, of course. But you don't have to have all-pro linebackers to make this defense work.
Right.
We just saw it last year. It's more important to have the coverage and the pass rush. You can get that, and then cherry on the top with the linebacker, great. But a lot of these people, I think there's this romanticized feeling or opinion about linebackers that it's kind of like tight end, right? Where there's a bunch of guys, and then there are very few difference makers. And if you get one of those difference makers, God bless. but it's not the same. Like you don't have to use huge resources on it to be okay there. You don't have to have that.
Right.
Even in this defense.
I'm with you there. It just, I mean, you see Fangio has done some great things with great linebackers throughout history. And so if you can get him one of those kind of guys, it's great. But like you said, you don't need it to be successful. Just kind of like this last year you saw, it's great to have top end talent cornerbacks, but you don't need it to be completely successful in this defense.
Yeah, 100%. So we got Anubis GOE coming in here with the pretty sick Anubis looking avatar there. I guess we'll call it. Anubis was always my favorite. I remember in middle school history class, Anubis, like, oh man, I F with Anubis. He's pretty cool. If we could pick at 9, who would be the dark horse selection? And if we traded back in the first round, who do you think it would be for? Dark horse selection at 9. Well, I was in a very tough situation where I was actually running a mock, or not running a mock, but in a mock where we were not allowed to do any trades. And the board fell where my top 8 guys were gone at 8. So, ouch. And I ended up taking Jalen Phillips at 9. I'm not, guys, I'm telling you, Micah Parsons, he's like on my board, but he's like 30th, right? Like at some point, the talent's too much there. But Jalen Phillips, if his concussions pass, I think he's the most talented pass rusher in this class. And if my medical team says, you know what, we're okay with him, then you have a chance for a incredible talent. I mean, I think Brett Coleman compared him to JJ Watt in terms of how heavy his hands are, his length, his power, and his athleticism. I'm not going to call him JJ Watt, but that's kind of the mold you're going for there. And that's, I mean, sign me the hell up. I'll sign now. Like, how much? I'll pay. If in a trade back. So I think that's a dark horse. I think people are also sleeping on Slater at 9 overall. He's somebody who could bring a lot of versatility to the offensive line. They need right tackle help. Dalton Reisner played not great last year, dealing with an injury, but still he struggled. Lloyd Cushenberry needs to take another step. And Graham Glasgow, he's going to be on the show. Also, shout out to John for getting Graham Glasgow on. But let's say Graham Glasgow has to slide over to center. Rashawn Slater can play guard then. So I think he's a very valuable one. It's eating your vegetables, right? It's not very fun, but if you're investing in the offensive line there with a high quality player like Slater, you're going to be happy for it down the road. Trading back, I called my shot earlier. If the Broncos trade back, I think maybe it's just me hoping. I think they're going to end up trading to 5, and I think they're going to get one of Fields or Lance at 5. That's what my heart tells me. My head tells me the Broncos trade back maybe even twice into like 21, 22 and end up getting Jason Owa.
Okay. Good choice. I'd say that there's still some chances of, especially the cornerback group, that Greg Newsome, Eric Stokes kind of players. I mean, not players that really excite me a whole lot. I mean,
Davis is one that's getting a lot of smoke as well for a trade.
Right. Yeah. Davis is one that I was thinking about as well. And then I could see maybe the Broncos deciding, let's get our tackle and go with the guy that they feel like could have some really high upside in Cosme of Texas.
Cosme, yeah.
Cosme, sorry. And
he tested great. Is he better wide zone, though? I just wonder if he's going to do the power inside zone stuff that they want so much.
I agree, but I'm just trying to think of a guy that isn't quite ready day one, but that you could see become a upper tier kind of player because his athleticism off the charts.
Yeah.
Just, you can see that there's some rawness to his game that just isn't quite what you would like right now. But you pair him with Munchak, and you just saw what he did with Garrett Bowles, taking a very raw prospect, turning him into a top 5 left tackle in football.
Yeah. Yeah, do you have any thoughts on, we haven't even touched on it really at all, but the running back position? Obviously, everybody in the chat knows I am vehemently against going running back early, but there is some buzz. If the Broncos traded back to 20 to 30 and Najee Harris was there, they might go that direction. And from what I've heard, that is Pat Shurmur banging that drum. A lot of people are saying George Patton as well, but that's not what I've heard. I've heard more so it's Shurmur banging that drum, probably thinking that if there's any position I'm going to take this year that's going to make the biggest difference on my offense in 2021, it's probably Najee Harris, and Shurmur is coaching for his life in the Broncos. So maybe getting that linebacker or that running back might make the biggest difference. I'm not doing it. If Najee Harris is there at 40, sign me up. I'm in. That's great. I don't care. Once it's out of the first round, great. Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, giddy up, fine. Yeah. But so first round, what do you think there?
I'm okay with it. Well, I mean, as okay as I can be with a running back. It's not going to make me jump out of my chair. It's not going to make me do the monkey tail. It's one of those you understand because he's a talented player. And right now you're looking at Melvin Gordon has one more year left here with the Broncos. and you want to find a guy that's a true 3-down player, well, Najee Harris fits that. Really, any of the top 3 running backs kind of fit that mold that I could be okay with. So, again, it's not going to be anything that excites me, but if they trade back, get some 2022 capital, and it looks like they've won that kind of part of it of getting the value, I can get behind it a little bit. But let me ask you this, because you said that Shurmur is the one that's pounding the table for this. Just with everything that you've heard, how would you rank all the top guys when it comes to how big of a voice they have when it comes to the draft? So we're talking, I'll just list off the guys. So we got Peyton, of course. We got Vic Fangio. We got Donatell. We got Shurmur. And I'm going to put Shula in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Shurmur on that list?
Well, this is, you know me, I can never just rank guys. I have to give in my input and nuance to it. But Peyton is known for getting everybody in the room, the whole team, everybody getting a voice and coming to a collective decision. So really, nobody is going to be left out in the cold, so to speak, as far as it goes. So he's going to try to make sure that it's a collective decision. There's more buy-in than, like leadership 101, right? If you're going to have that kind of thing, everybody needs to feel like their voice matters and that then they'll have buy-in to the decision. But if I had to rank those guys, I think obviously Peyton is the guy who makes the decision at the end of the day. Elway still has a voice. I will say that too. Elway still has a voice. It's obviously not as prevalent, but he's still in there. He's probably lower, but he's in there. I think it would go Vic, then Shula. If they're talking, Shula's the guy who's doing the quarterback stuff right now, right? Like Shula's getting a lot of input in this class, and I think Peyton and Shula have hit it off. There's a lot of, from what I've heard, a lot of conversation between those two. So Vic, Shula, Shurmur, and then probably Donatell, because like Donatell, he has a voice, but like they're just gonna go to Vic, right? Like it's like what Vic says, Donatell's gonna be like, yeah, I have an input, but like that sounds good too. So that's my understanding, which is fine. But really, it does sound like Shula's getting a little bit more, which is surprising, but it sounds like Shula's getting a little bit more input, and probably a lot of that has to do with just the specifics of the Broncos picking at 9 in a pretty special quarterback class.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to kind of bring up is I do think that Shula is getting almost a bigger voice than Shurmur, and especially when it comes to the quarterbacks. We've heard some things of how much Shula loves Justin Fields, really likes Trey Lance as well, and is really kind of pounding the table of go get one of these guys. And that's why we still think that they're probably going to trade up. But even if they trade back, I kind of question who's going to have that voice moving back. I don't know how much of a voice Shurmur really has because, like I said, he's coaching for his life here. Are you wanting a guy that maybe even 5-6 games of the season, you're talking if things aren't looking good, hey, see you later, Shula. Hey, here you go, have it. I really think that's a real possibility. If the Broncos offense struggles early on, Shurmur, he's got about as short a leash as anybody in this organization right now.
Shurmur and Locke. I think that maybe even Locke has a shorter leash because there's still a chance that Locke will be out of his job before the season. I don't think that's going to happen with Shurmur, but both those guys, we'll see what happens. I hope Shula gets his wish. Yeah, we'll see what happens, guys. I've heard similar. I've also heard Peyton. He's spent years with the Vikings, and they've had a lot of good teams, but they've been one of those teams also that has been wandering the desert for a quarterback. And there's been a guy there named Aaron Rodgers who has made it really tough for them. And the AFC West, unfortunately, is shaping up to be similar. And I think Peyton understands that if you don't have a good quarterback, good to great quarterback, you just can't compete year to year, right? You're just too dependent. And it's way too hard to have an overall great roster season to season. The quarterback raises the floor, makes everyone better. So I don't think the Broncos are going to just pay any price to move up for quarterback, and the board has to fall the right way. Right. But if a Fields or Lance are there at 4 or 5, I think there's a possibility. Now, there is a chance that the quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, 4, Lawrence, Wilson, Fields, Lance. Well, then you're SOL. Like it just is what it is. We got Andrew Switzer. Hello. Hi, Andrew. I see John is very excited about that one too. So shout out to John for pulling that one up. But I think that if the quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, 4, like I said, Lawrence, Wilson, Fields, Lance, you're probably SOL. From what I can understand, a lot of people are like, oh, if Mac Jones fits. From what I've heard, Mac Jones is not the guy that the Broncos are interested in. Well, who knows? I could be being fed BS. It's that time of year, right? Oh, maybe they love Mac Jones. I don't know, right? Like I've been fed BS before.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I do think, though, if Lance or Fields falls to 4 or 5, it could happen.
Yep.
Could happen.
All right. We got Gilby Z29. Did I say that right?
You got to say
I did. Gilby Z. Okay. I think Broncos should trade back to get more picks, then trade up to pick 30 through 32 and draft Kellen Mond. Have you watched video on him? He has a fast release, accurate, and mobile.
Yeah, he's kind of accurate. I feel like he's one of those guys where he's like conservative to a fault. I don't know if that's Jimbo Fisher's system, but like I feel like he made splash throws, but then they became less and less likely. And I just don't know about does he see it totally? Is it the coaching? Is it the style of offense? And part of it probably is Texas A&M hasn't had great weapons to throw to. I mean, they had the year with Christian Kirk, and that's been, a while now. Texas A&M, great defense, great offensive line. I think they are a team that could be a dark horse to compete with Alabama next year. But we'll see. But Kellen Mond, trading back in the first round, no. He's a guy that, like, if you really want to take a quarterback and he's there at pick 71, okay, I don't love it just because I know the odds of a quarterback hitting outside of the top 15 of the draft are long, right? It's kind of like edge rusher. If you don't take one in the first round, it's a lottery ticket. But I could see it. Yeah. I don't love it, but I could see it.
Right. Really, the stats say any quarterback taken outside the top 12, you are the odds are very much stacked against you. Even in the top 12, it's not great. Slot. Yeah. But beyond the top 12, I think this is one thing. Yes, there are a lot of busts that happen early in the draft at the quarterback position, but you see very, very few hits later on. Like, teams do a decent job of actually evaluating and seeing which ones are talented. They just sometimes miss on some of the other things that a quarterback brings. We're going to have a question here about work ethic here in just a second. But they rarely have a guy that slips through the cracks and you sit there and say, oh, Russell Wilson in the third round. Like, that's an anomaly.
Do you think that would happen today too? I think that after we're in a new world, Kyler Murray going number 1 overall. I think the days of like Drew Brees being too short or Russell Wilson being too short, out the window. I think if those guys were as prospects in the draft now, they would be top 15 picks. I really do. Well, I think they've thrown out that, like, oh, he has to be this pocket guy. He has to be 6'3". He has to be able to go through the progressions. Right. And if he runs, it's a detriment because he can get hurt. Like, league's changed. Yeah.
Well, Justin Fields, he's 6'2". I think
he's thick though.
Right. But I think Wilson, he's 6'2" or 6'3". So they're not exactly tall prospects. Mm-hmm. And I think we would have been talking about that a lot more 10 years ago compared to today, where I don't think we've ever talked about their height once on this podcast. Mm-hmm. This is the very first time that we're even bringing it up, just to say it's not an issue.
Honestly, if anything, Trevor Lawrence, too skinny maybe. I know he had the shoulder injury, but he was like, what is he, 6'5" and like weighed like 215 or something? We'll see. But Oscar coming in here with the map and compass there, making me want to get outside and explore. Thank you, Oscar, coming on YouTube. I absolutely just love Justin Fields, though I remember Zach mentioning on the Huddle Up Pod that he has work ethic concerns. Is this true? Thanks. I don't know Justin Fields personally. I haven't been speaking to Ryan Day or any of the Ohio State staff. From what I've gathered, it sounds like it's something that a team put out there to hopefully push Justin Fields down. And that's kind of, I don't know if you guys remember a few years ago, the day before the draft, all these tweets with the N-word from Josh Allen came out. And that was like, oh, let's get Josh Allen knocked down the board. And I heard that was from the Arizona Cardinals, pushing those out there, making sure that those were out to hopefully that he would fall. Bills didn't bite. They still ended up getting Josh Allen. That's who they wanted. And so we'll see. But I don't think there is actually much validity to that. But you never know until you know, right? Like, that's just time passes and you'll find out. But I think it's BS. I think a lot of it is honestly dog whistle for me. It's a lot of the racially motivated kind of stuff. You don't hear that about a lot of the other guys.
Right. And I do think a lot of this is also coming from the Georgia staff that were a little upset that he ended up leaving their organization. I've heard some things that they have done a good job of bad-mouthing him to a lot of the teams in the NFL. And there's a lot of teams that respect that Georgia program a lot. And so if they speak and say, hey, this kid, don't draft him, he's got bad work ethic, got a bad attitude, there's some teams that listen to that. Now, It seems like the Ohio State staff have all had nothing but great things to say about him. that he's the one that obviously he fought for college football to be back this year. He's one of the biggest voices of being a part of that. His coaches have talked about how that middle part of the season when they didn't know if they were going to be playing or not. And he was the guy that was like, hey, we're getting in here. We're putting in the work. Yeah. Even if we're not playing this Saturday, we're going to put in the work. And so I do think some of that, like I said, is a little overblown. A lot of things I've read from teammates, coaches, people connected to the family, all of that have all said this guy works really, really hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's something you can't really know unless you see him there.
Right.
So we'll see. And Charlie coming in here, there was a midget named Doug Flutie once talking about our talk about the height earlier impacting guys. Where did Doug Flutie get drafted, Carl? What round do you think Doug Flutie got drafted when he came out?
Was he undrafted?
It's a round that doesn't even exist anymore. The 11th round, lowest drafted Heisman Award winner of all time, and probably will always be the case because we're not getting the 7th round sometimes can be a little bit like, okay, all right, like the third string linebacker from Ohio State. Okay, cool. Like, can you imagine 11 rounds? UDFAs, that's not as fun. So you're kind of proving the point there, Charlie. That's those guys. Doug Flutie would have been drafted higher. He wouldn't have been the 11th round.
And I do want to say real quick, Zach didn't say it that he's heard that. It's Dan Orlovsky was the guy that put that out there, and a lot of people kind of jumped on it. Yeah. And Zach was just reporting what was said. So just wanted to make sure that that's kind of cleared up. And also just wanted to say real quick, happy birthday to Boggins. He does a lot of stuff on our Facebook page, our super fan page. So just happy birthday to him. Always doing a lot of great work there because there's thousands of comments every single day. So to kind of have to work through all those things, man, that is not fun. So happy birthday to him. But there is something about players playing baseball. And Justin Fields, he played baseball. He was actually a really, really good baseball player.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Baseball, really good baseball player as well. I think there's something like kind of that shortstop, right, where you can get the ball out quick, turning those double plays, awkward platforms, getting off platform. Also not having to have the laces perfect to get the ball out quickly. Those are big things. So, games change. That's why, like, if you have kids out there that are playing sports right now, do not specialize. Get them to play as many sports as they can because you are going to get a lot of skills from playing those other sports, whether that be basketball, soccer. Shout out for Iowa wrestling, a big one. I mean, you wonder why Iowa gets all these offensive tackles, offensive linemen, and defensive linemen. It's wrestling, the leverage, the hand fighting. I mean, those guys, low man wins. Get them in wrestling if you want your boys to play in any of the trench positions. That's a good call. Baseball is definitely a big one. And also happy birthday. Yep, everybody's saying happy birthday to Boggins out here in the Pacific Northwest. I'll make sure to tell him you guys know. I'll send a smoke signal. It's still we're still in a pandemic, right? But I'm excited to meet Boggins at some point and have an adult beverage with him at some point soon. Tell me Nolan Arenado will not be a good quarterback. I mean, Nolan Arenado, God bless you, Rocky fans, because Carl and I, St. Louis Cardinal fans, sorry, everybody just turned off. But man, that curtain call, man, chills. I feel like baseball's great in the Gateway City again. I'm going to the Mariners game next Sunday.
Ooh,
we're doing
nice.
Pods. I'm vaccinated. Wife got her first dose. We're small, but going to go to a Mariners game next week. So really excited. Just some normalcy. We're getting there. We're not there yet, but we're inching our way there.
Yeah, I know John had made a comment earlier about heading to Dub Valley and taking some pictures, and I said I'm really hoping we can get to training camp this year as fans.
Yeah,
that is such a. If you live in Denver or have a chance to go be a part of that, it is such a cool experience to be sitting there right on the field. And, some of the players come over and talk to the crowd. Sometimes they play catch. There's just a lot of really neat things that you get there that you'll never get as going to a game or watching on TV.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Well, a Marinara game. Mariners, I don't think they've made the playoffs since the 1990. So they had that team with Randy Johnson and A-Rod, and maybe they made one earlier, but they've not made the playoffs in a long time.
Ichiro, they had like 108 win team or something like that.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, we should probably get on out of here because we're already at an hour and 15 minutes. So if anything comes in, you guys stop me because I got to get the read out of here. But I'll bust out the air horn if we have any last minute super chats. But that's going to do it for Building the Broncos on this fine Saturday night. It's weird. Saturday nights for the BTB. We'll be back Tuesday. We're going to do our top 20 or 25 big boards for the Broncos specifically, not just in general. So that'll change things a little bit. So sorry, guys. Jamar Chase is great, but he's probably not going to be very high. I still have to have him in there. He's too talented, Carl. Just to let you know,
Right.
I do have all three of the big wide receivers on there because if the Broncos traded back to 20 and Jamar Chase was there, I don't care anymore. I'm
Right.
taking him. It's not going to happen, but we're just, we're doing the work here. Trevor Lawrence is still going to be on the big board too. He's not going to give to the Broncos. He's still going to be there. But we'll be back Tuesday, guys. You can find Carl on Twitter at Carl Dumler MHH and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Also find John on Twitter at John K MHH. That's JONKAY MHH. Make sure you head on over to milehighhuddle.com for all of our written content and the MHH community content. I hope we will be writing here again soon. We've been in the midst of a move and not very much time to write. Also, work has been extremely busy, but that's life. Guys, heading over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. Carl said he was seeing a bunch of 5 stars and comments earlier. I think after the draft, we will get back to those and read those, pull those up. We'll clip those and put those up. So we'll read those just kind of like a super chat. Well, we really appreciate that. We will get to those. If you are joining us on YouTube, probably the most important thing you can do if you're joining us today at all. If you join us on YouTube specifically, though, like, subscribe, and share. If you're doing that, you can help us reach new listeners, not just for this show, but Carl and Zach, or Chad and Zach, Luke and myself, Eric and Lance. I mean, it helps us so much. Also, if you're joining us on Facebook, click those thumbs ups and either of those things help us get new listeners, help the numbers, and we appreciate it a heck of a lot. You can follow us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle and at BTB Football Pod. Carl, did any last minute supers come in here before we get out of here? It's okay if not. I don't have to blow or make anyone's ears bleed with that loud, annoying rap horn.
Nope, you're good, man.
Okay, good. Well, guys, we really appreciate it. I am going to go check in with the wife, make sure that the pets haven't driven her insane yet. The pets do not understand what's going on. They're very concerned, and we thought packing with them was rough. Unpacking is even worse because they're not in their home. They're not comfortable. So living life. And also, everyone, before you get on out here, I know we have still 134, or I guess times 2 for eyeballs in here. Congratulations to Carl and his wife getting finally that hurdle where you got approved for the 2 kids coming in from the Dominican Republic. I know you've been dead end after dead end so far, and to get to where you are right now to have this coming down the tracks is got to be a huge relief. A little bit nerve-wracking too, I'm sure. Not that I have to say that for you just because it's a big, huge commitment, but I'm really proud of you guys. I'm happy for you guys, and I know that you really, really want to do this, and you're going to make a hell of a difference for those 2 kids.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, no, it's whole weight is lifted today. Just been smiles all day, and can't wait to finally go overseas, pick them up, and just have a good time.
Yeah. Well, congrats, Carl. Everyone stay safe. Have a good night. We'll see what happens with the Broncos in the draft. Either way, they're going to get better. That's what's great about the draft, right? Every single team gets better. So that's something we can all get excited about. Everyone have a good night. We'll see you on Tuesday. Go Broncos.
You've been listening to Building the Broncos. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.